got another one of the gods. God, here, go on.
He's got Majora's Mask on though, so I gotta say kudos to his picture. I gotta say that. But however, go ahead. Was you talking, sir?
No. I wouldn't say no.
But anyways, you come in here with a screen name that says Evolution False, and essentially, even though 98%, well, probably about 90% of the scientists on this planet believe in evolution, you're just some dude on the internet. So if the majority of the people on our planet that we consider the top brains on our planet believe one way, you're going to come in and go against them and then say there's only two ways and act like you're the logical one and everyone else is just drunk idiots. I find that laughable, considering whether you believe us or not because you think we're drunk. Science believes us. And really, that's what matters.
Yep. I mean, everything about the medical field is
Come on,
based on
newbie. What you got to say?
I was gonna try to steel man his argument.
Hey, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, brother. What's up, man?
Well, when I first was listening to him, I thought he was referring to what in philosophy is called the absolute. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the philosophical absolute.
Okay, I'm here, JB. Okay,
Well,
since you invited me back.
Whoa. You hear another motherfucker talking.
Yeah.
Give him his respect and let him finish what he's saying. Stop being a little bitch about shit.
Is that how you want to have a conversation, JB?
Yes, absolutely it is. Stop interrupting people.
That's not really showing your intelligence.
Stop interrupting people, ma'am. Stand to the side and let the dude with the mask talk.
Yeah, we'll see how long you last.
I'm going to last all night. Ask your fucking wife.
Yeah. Now, you said there's no. I'm not hearing him talking. Are you?
Yeah. Well, I'll real quickly, man. Maybe you can clarify. All I was gonna say was it almost sounded like you were referring to a philosophical absolute, and I mean, if someone's new to that phrase, like the way
I explained it, I explained it to them.
Oh, okay.
They didn't. They didn't understand it. It went over their heads.
It's not that we didn't understand it; it's that we don't agree with it. There is no
okay.
philosophical absolute.
You're not. Listen to me. You're not understanding what you just said is an incoherency. Okay. When you deny that anything is absolute, then whatever propositions you assert will have no ultimate basis.
Well, name me one absolute. Every one.
One absolute, God.
Can you give us some evidence of that, sir?
Okay. All right. Now, if God is not the absolute that everything's dependent upon, how did you determine that?
No. Don't
how do you determine he was?
Give us evidence.
No, you just told me. Listen, I'll talk with one person. I'm talking with the guy by the name of Troll here. You told me not to.
There is no evidence of it.
And now you're over talking me, JB. Now you invited me back on, JB, to speak to you, and I will speak to you. Now you stated, I heard you on YouTube, saying there's no evidence for God. Right. Now, but you're asserting in your worldview that evidence is a viable and an intelligible concept. Evidence requires that there be causal connections and relations between events. Do you understand?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay, can you give me a rational justification, not an intuition, that there are causal connections between events?
Which events? Well, I mean, what are you talking about?
Any events, because if you say that evidence is a viable concept without God, then you're going to have to explain how you know rationally that there are causal connections. Now, you need to be careful in how you answer the question, because people usually answer it by appealing to their sense perception, which would be a philosophical fallacy, which I'll be glad to explain. So, since you say there's no God, but evidence is a viable concept.
Hold on, I didn't say there was. You're actually wrong again. That's not what I said. It's never one time did I say that.
Is invoking evidence? No,
you don't get to skip.
Please don't interrupt me. No, you're interrupting me. Listen, you know what? I have better things to do if you're just going to overtalk me.
You're
Okay.
either going to answer my question again,
Now,
or you can
now,
get the
what
fuck
I'd
out.
like to
You
know,
either are
here's
going
my
to
question.
No, fuck you. You don't get the
Okay.
fucking
Hey,
answer
listen,
not
have you
answer
been
my
drinking tonight? Have you been drinking tonight
question.
too?
Christ. Jesus, will you answer
Listen,
my original question?
yeah.
Just answer the original question. Do you have any evidence at all for your God?
Now answer.
Yeah, everything that exists
Okay.
would be evidence for God. And the
No,
reason
no, no, no.
why,
That's your theory.
okay, I'm
That is your
answering you.
theory.
Please do
You
not
have-
listen. If you're
Motherfucker.
going
I'm
to be
muted.
rude and
So go ahead and say your
obnoxious,
thing. Do you have evidence
if you're
for God?
going
That's
to
what he's
be,
saying.
listen,
Do you have
I'm
Do you
evidence
have
for God?
talking with
any
JB.
evidence for God?
Listen, if you're going, listen,
Yes or
if
no,
you
motherfucker?
don't
Yes or
stop,
no?
all right, listen, I converse with adults. If you're not going to conduct
Jesus
yourself
Christ. Well, adults
like an
answer
adult,
questions.
all right,
Adults
I'm trying to answer you, and you're
Then do it.
acting like you're stone cold drunk.
It is a yes or no
Okay, now,
answer.
in my worldview, everything would necessarily be evidence for God because evidence is causal relations and connections. And therefore, since God would be the origin point, everything would be metaphysical evidence for God. Now, do you know the difference between epistemic reason? I am answering you. Listen, dude, if you cut me off one more time,
Then leave.
I'll leave the
You're still not
conversation.
answering my question,
Okay,
bitch.
okay, listen. Being
Answer the
an
question.
obnoxious, argumentative twit makes you look stupid on YouTube.
All you have
You
to
aren't
do is
answering
answer
the
Now,
question.
I'm attempting to converse with you, JB. Now,
No,
the point I'm trying to show you, the point I'm trying to show you, the point I'm trying to show you, the point I'm trying to show you. Yeah, listen, dude, you're making yourself look very bad on YouTube.
I don't
I'm
care
not.
what I'm looking like to you.
Okay,
These motherfuckers
now.
pay me. You think I give a fuck what I look like to you?
Now.
You're the one not answering my question.
Yeah, listen, you're unhinged, JB.
That doesn't.
You're in good company with the other two
That does
here.
not change the fact that
Now,
you're not
JB,
answering
do you
my
want to have a
question.
conversation?
Don't be insulted about
Okay.
me.
All
Don't
right,
start
listen.
with me, stupid
Listen,
man.
I'll give you one more
If
chance,
you believe in
JB.
God,
And
First
if
of all,
you
then why
can't,
don't
if
you
you
just
can't,
fucking...
okay,
I don't know who the fuck
listen.
you
I
think you
I
are.
will bid all of you dry drunks adieu, since you don't know how to converse like adults.
and
You don't know,
a
you
good
do
day
that
to
since
you,
you don't
prick.
know how to answer the simple question, motherfucker. It's
No,
not
he
that
don't.
hard. You answer yes or no. Do you have evidence or not? And this motherfucker wants to go through all this bullshit. He is literally dodging the question. It's not that difficult.
Yep.
Do you have
It ain't.
evidence or not? And then he goes into all of these different reasons that could be evidence. Oh, Jesus Christ. And this is what idiots do. And then, of course, when they lose the argument, they come back with ad hominems. And this is just the way they are. We
Right.
asked a simple question: evidence or not? Yes,
I mean,
or no?
he brings up an apple on the table was his evidence, and I'm like, well, I could get an apple on my table without God, in a universe without God, as well as a universe with God. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't have to have God to have an apple on my table.
And this motherfucker has the nerve to sit there and say, to act as if we're blessed to have him around. First of all, I don't know who this motherfucker thinks he's talking to. But at the end of the day, when the motherfucker can't answer one simple question, and here's the thing, like I told him, his own accusation towards anything, I never said I didn't believe in God. I don't know if I do or don't. I'm a theorist. I don't know if there's a God per se. I do not believe in religion. I think all of man's religions are wrong. But this dude, this is how you get people like this, when they have no evidence. You ever caught someone in a lie or in some bullshit, or your kids or anything? Hey, how did the lamp get knocked over? Well, I'll tell you what happened. You understand that Susie was outside playing with the damn dogs. And let me tell you what Susie was doing with the dogs. They deflect.
Yep.
And that's all he was doing was deflect.
That's it.
Because my question was very simple.
Right.
Newbie, what did you want to say? Because I think you're on EF's side I would
Yeah.
say, or side of the
Uh,
fence.
Sure. I wanted to. I don't know how he described the philosophical absolute to you guys. I wasn't there for that part. I kind of chimed in late, but I wanted to reintroduce it maybe in a different way that might be more palatable than how his
Sure.
approach.
Go ahead, bro.
The way it's sort of thought, the philosophical absolute, the way you can think of it, for an analogy, I guess, is if you can imagine every possible permutation that can manifest in the material world. Anything that could happen in the universe or the multiverse, or how physicists speak of it. The sum of that, it would be considered the philosophical absolute, or what mystics would equate to God. And I think I don't know if he described it that way, but and it's not an easy concept to imagine, because if you consider that sum, that of all the possible permutations in reality, you can kind of define it as beyond time, beyond space, because it's all inclusive. It's this the very sum of every single thing that could ever manifest in the material world. That's how it's described in philosophy, anyway. I don't know if that's how he described it.
Not exactly. But I mean, I understand the concept that there's a possibility that there could be multiverses out there and things of that nature. So I mean, we can't prove that those things exist either. But
Yeah, I agree.
we got a
Man.
good idea that there's a possibility that they do exist.
Yeah, our physicists today are not even smart enough to prove M theory or string theory, superstring theory. So I agree.
Right.
My only issue here, right, is when this man comes into this room and says they're the only absolute is God, when God is the most questionable thing we've ever even questioned on this planet. I don't know if there's any question bigger than how did we get here. So to say that the only absolute is the very thing we've all questioned all of our lives, it's a ridiculous position to take. That's my point.
It sounds like it, man. If I may say one more thing, and then I might head out. I don't know if you ever taken psychedelics, man. I asked this of like pretty much everyone I talked to. Like LSD or DMT.
Yeah, no, I took acid a lot when I was young.
There's studies today with psilocybin where they're giving people in a legal situation a high dose, a single high dose, and they're claiming that they can reproduce experiences that were reported by mystics throughout the ages. And the way they describe these experiences is kind of like a direct experience of that absolute, and that's how it's confirmed for themselves. And of course, if you believe in evolution, and I do, I don't think you believe the word God has existed forever, because language came about in the latter portion of our evolution. And so obviously that thing that they refer to has taken various names over centuries. Like the Hindus called it Brahman well before anyone ever uttered the word God.
Right.
And all the various major religions supposedly have a word that points to the experience. And in Christianity, it's beatific vision or theoria. And a lot of people don't talk about those more esoteric, mystic parts of religion. They're not really a broad topic, but that's what our science is kind of exploring nowadays with this research with psychedelics.
Right.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was answering something in the chat.
Like mushrooms and shit, huh?
They're using psilocybin. It is the constituent of shrooms, but it's not exactly shrooms. They're not making volunteers eat mushrooms. They're just giving them a single pill. But that one pill would be the equivalent of eating about 5 dry grams of mushrooms. Yeah.
Oh wow. I'm gonna have to go look for some cow shit here in a little bit.
Man, shit. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, that's the most spiritual I ever felt was when I was hallucinating. I'll be honest with you. But when I say spiritual, I don't necessarily mean any God shit, right? But it was the most in touch I felt with something that wasn't what I was used to, which obviously I was hallucinating. But there's more to it. It's hard to explain to people that don't go through it. So it's the only drugs in my life I've ever really taken. It's hard to explain, but no, I hear what the young man was saying, and it makes sense to me.
Right. Well, I mean, I've heard of like Krishna and stuff like that, that people had some serious religious experiences with, you know, like Krishna, for example, you know, and different gods, you know. So, you know, for somebody to say, well, God's an absolute and my God is the right God, you know, I think is ludicrous, and to say the least. I mean, it's insanity.
I agree, man. I think that's what the previous guy was trying to do, and the way it's talked about in this research is a lot more it's more sophisticated than that. They related to what's called the perennial philosophy. It's a perspective of seeing that root experience at the heart of all the major religions, not just one single one. So they all share this, you know, truth in the absolute, or whatever you want to call it, God, Brahman, Nirvana. That's the way it's expressed in the research. And I find that to make a lot more sense than trying to argue for one single religion as the truth.
Right.
And to be perfectly honest, I'm open to that, right? Like I said, that's why I said I'm agnostic. I'm open to the different possibilities. But when you come in and say, and literally lay your God's dick on the table and say, this is the biggest dick around, this is the only dick around, you either believe in this dick or you don't, that's not cool with me. Like, you're taking away critical thinking. And I think it's an arrogant position to take, to believe that anyone human has all the answers to all the questions, to the very question we've been trying to get to the bottom of forever. It just makes no sense to me. It's so black and white when you make a statement like that. It's either this is fact or it's not. And I don't know. I just think there's more chapters to the book, so to speak.
I agree with you, man, and I have seen that that dude before. I forgot. I think he goes by other names like Darth Dawkins, right? I think I've seen him before on other channels. I think I've even seen him on like Talk Heathen. He called in and he had that, man, the same, like you were saying, like right now. You see how the conversation's like flowing smoothly now, and you're not cursing anymore, right? You know, and he's, man, every time he comes on, he always has that grading. Like, he always ends up in where they're kind of like, oh, you're you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It's great. I think he needs a whole new approach, man. I think he needs to reassess.
Well, that's what his gimmick is, though. And I can tell this already. His stick is essentially to anger the people he's talking to, and then when they say angry words to him, then somehow criticize their angry words as if that's what they intended to begin with. So you come in and you demean everyone, and then wonder why people are interrupting you or cussing at you or any of that shit. You know what I'm saying? That was nobody's intentions. Nobody knows who the fuck he is.
No shit.
But
absolutely.
But when you come in and you have a conversation with people you do not know, and you're immediately disrespectful, as if you're some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Authority on anything. This dude's not an authority on anything.
Nothing.
I agree, man.
So, yeah, I mean, there's an old saying, and this is as old as it gets. You get more, wow, fuck, I don't even know what shit. Now, maybe I am drinking. But anyways, essentially you get more, fuck, man.
I'm drinking too, brother, so don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, you get more whatever with sugar than you do with vinegar or whatever the fuck, right? Anyway, the bottom line here is you obviously are going to get a better conversation when you come in calm and articulating your point, not in a way that is meant to demean everyone you're trying to articulate that point to. Like, I don't necessarily believe in God, but I'm not calling all people that do idiots.
Yeah, man. Well, there's another view that's expressed on like the atheist experience. Like, Matt will say that he wants like all religion to end. Do you feel that same way, or as an atheist, or as agnostic, whatever?
I do.
What was the question? Sorry about that.
Like you want, well, Matt says on the show that he'd like to see all religion complete, and he wants to see it eradicated from the planet, and he doesn't want to enforce laws to what I mean. He wants people to give it up on their own. I guess he feels that if people adhere to logic, they're gonna naturally find their way to atheism.
I don't want to take anyone's freedom away, but I honestly think religion is poison. Doctrine is poison. I think that when you have a free thinking species, they have the right to determine whichever way they're going to go. So I, as much as I have to say, religion is probably the worst thing to ever happen to humans. I mean, it's caused more death than anything. There's so much negativity and badness behind it, evil. I have to say in the end that people should still be free to have that option. So,
I kind of see, because I've been following this research that I mentioned actually for a bit, man, and I kind of see maybe religion reforming through this, through the science, and being more adaptable to our everyday, modern reality with smartphones and all the crazy technological crap we have on the planet.
I would tend to agree with Aaron Raw on the fact that religion gives people that argument from authority, and that also it makes people pretend to know things that they do not know and cannot know.
yeah.
That's what I would say.
And that's the thing is I still think to this, and that's why I asked him if he had any evidence, right? Because ultimately that's what it's all going to boil down to. And unless you can show me some definitive proof of what you're saying, or at least something that convinces me, it's hard to consider your opinion an absolute. Because at the end of the day, without evidence, that opinion is just an opinion. It's just a theory. And religion in itself is ultimately one giant theory. Just like, and I hate to say it, just like evolution. Now, I'm a believer in evolution, but it's still a theory.
Well, it depends on how you define what a scientific theory is. A scientific theory is based on facts. Like, you got the theory of gravity.
Right. You're
But
right.
you wouldn't say, well, it's only a theory, and then jump off a 10-story building and on your way down and say it's only a theory. I mean, so there's a difference.
Yeah, and I agree. But things like the Big Bang, things of this. Now, I'm a believer in the Big Bang, but it's still a theory. Even though there's, let me tell you, there's more evidence for evolution and the Big Bang than there is religion. Just
by far.
But me personally, when you come in with an absolute, everybody else is dumb but me. There's only one or two. You only got two options. You're either with me or against me. When you come in like that, then of course the first question from majority of rational thinkers is going to be, okay, well then show me the evidence of your point. And that's not what his intentions were. His intentions were to dive off into some other theoretical concept. And then what would happen is you and me would probably listen to this theoretical concept and be like, I don't know what you mean. We don't know what you're talking about. And then he's going to be like, oh, so you just aren't smart enough to understand there's a God yet. That's where it was leading. You understand that, right? That's why he was using big words. And that's why he was doing things the way he was doing instead of.
Well, I understood what he was saying. I just didn't agree with it.
Right.
Yeah, I simply didn't agree with what he was saying. It was ridiculous to say, well, you can only go left or right. Well, there's a lot more directions to go. You can go north, south, east, west, and then there's northwest, north, southeast, whatever. There's a lot of different directions you could go in this situation. And so you're telling me, well, there's only two ways. Well, there's a lot more than two ways.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever called into the atheist experience?
No.
I called in a few times, man, and one of the first things they ask you is, are you an atheist or a theist? And I think one of the calls I had said to the screener, I said neither. And Matt took my call somewhere halfway through the show, and he was offended by that, man. Right when I came on, he's like, the screener listed you as neither, and that's impossible. I'm like, And I was thinking about it, man, if it was impossible, why didn't you get the screeners to realize that before the show started? You know, like, because what ended up happening is that we got into this like semantic argument for like the first 5 minutes of my call, and then finally I got to kind of get to what I wanted to talk to. But man, it was it sounds like nails on the chalkboard. I don't recommend checking it out.
Well, I love Matt Dillahunty. He's like my hero, man. And I love like Aaron Raw. He's my hero. I mean, I love those guys.
I'm a huge fan of theirs too, man. But you know, I guess at the time, maybe because like I guess he helped me clarify my position. He made me really think about like, you know, well, is it atheist or is it theist? You know, because I was over here claiming neither. You know.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, I got my own show I gotta go do, but I appreciate all of you. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump off here, man. Good talking to you.
I'll probably get a hop up here to go watch your show.
Good talking
Yeah,
to you guys.
same as that. Take care.
Yeah, I appreciate
All
that,
right.
opportunity, man. Thank you.
Later, bro.
Bye.
Later. Well, I'm gonna let everybody off of here to go watch OJB. So I guess we'll hop off to go watch him do his thing.
All right. See you over there, darling.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.